Let's do this. It's the news. Some horrible news went down today. The Raiders of Oakland in the NFL decided to trade a third and fifth round pick for disgruntled, dishonest, and confused wide receiver Antonio Brown of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I'm gonna take a very biased and subjective angle on this argument because it all started with this right here. Two legends of the gridiron clashed in a moment which will totally shape and formulate the NFL in a way that we've never seen it before. A certain level of protection was given to the quarterback position, and this all started it. The tuck rule. This was the last great moment in Raiders football history. They've only made the playoffs one time since this loss in the AFC Championship in Foxborough, Massachusetts, back in, I believe, 2000 and duh. Ever since that time, the organization has been in shambles. The original owner, Al Davis, has passed. The team has decided to make a move to Las Vegas. All the while, the fans stay down. Raider Nation is definitely one of the most, I would say, stable fan bases in the NFL. Unfortunately, this fan base is also a fan base that seems to believe the hype. From Jamarcus Russell to Robert Gallery. I mean, we can go down the list of pick after pick after pick of player that has totally not withstood the test of time when it comes to playing in this league. Not only that, these players were picked over obvious either lateral or better choices. Choices that could have made more sense not only at the time that the Raiders made the picks, but also for the future of the organization. But that stuff's neither here nor there because I said no intros and I just gave you one. So here we go. Who is this gentleman? This gentleman is Odell the Beckham Jr. Senior the Third. ODB, OBJ, whatever you want to call him. He's 5'11 and 198 pounds. He walks around pretty much as the average sized guy, but his athletic ability is a mix of Chris Carter and Lynn Swan. That's where I like to place this dude's skill set. A nice bit of Chris Carter and Lynn Swan. Now, he had a average NFL season last year, having a 1,000 yard, 77 reception season. And the main reason for that, I would say, is because the team sucks. Why do I say the team sucks? Is because they had a second round draft pick going into the 2018 season, and they decided to take Saquon Barkley, a running back, who I will never say running backs are a dime a dozen, but running backs are a dime a dozen. They're not hard to pick. Like really, seriously, my whole football life, good running backs are pretty easy to define. The only thing that separates really running backs from each other is work ethic and intangibles. Really, work ethic and intangibles. Intangibles such as vision, field of view, um, stability when they run. Some people, if you don't understand, when they run, they shake a lot. Some people, when they run, they can keep a stable neck and focus, and their field of view isn't blurry and shaky. But that goes another direction. Odell Beckham Jr. is one of the greatest athletes we've seen in a generation in the NFL. What do we know about Odell? He's made Pro Bowls. He's been All Pro. What's another thing we don't know about Odell? Another thing we know about Odell since his career started in 2014, he has had a steep decline in production. Not only through injury, not only through his own fault, but because he's played with a man named Eli Manning. Eli Manning has been on the decline for 5 years now. He was to have been replaced at least 5 years ago. If you look back at his career, he's done literally nothing in a half a decade, but he's allowed by name, recognition, stats, and trophies to continue to hold that position as the NFL quarterback for the New York Giants because that's all that matters to them. It ain't about the W's, it's about the business and legacy. And we're going to build that. Get rid of this guy. This guy is Amari Cooper. Oh, by the way, Odell's 30. Wait, let me double check that. No, Odell's 28. Amari Cooper played for the Raiders of Oakland last year. He's 6'1", 210 out of the University of Alabama. He's a prototypical wide receiver in the NFL. But he's had the dropsies of late. I say of late because out of his 4 years, 4 full seasons in the NFL, he's made 3 Pro Bowls in the AFC conference. Totally different conference than Odell, but same conference as this guy who has made 7 total and 4, I think 4 or 5 straight. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight. He's made 6 straight Pro Bowls. That means them last 1, 2, skip 17. So every year that Amari was in a Pro Bowl, Antonio was in a Pro Bowl. They were going head to head. Now, Amari Cooper has played on the team, the Oakland Raiders, that have done literally nothing over the past few seasons, and somehow he still was able to stay healthy his first 2 seasons, missed 2 games the season before, and then missed 1 game last year. Out of his NFL career, he's missed 3 games, but he's played and started in the majority of them. He's had 3,000-yard seasons, which were his 3 Pro Bowl seasons. The year that he only started 12 games and played 14, he only had 680 yards. But we must remember that this guy is throwing to him. 6'3", 215, Derek Carr. Derek Carr, for some reason, well, I know the reason, because NFL quarterbacks can play a long time. He's only been in the league since 2014, same as Amari. Well, a year before Amari. Year before Amari Cooper, Derek Carr came into the league. Derek Carr's stats, 60% at best. Last year was his best year throwing the football. As far as percentage-wise, he had a 68% completing percentage for 4,000 yards, 19 touchdowns. But Derek, how'd the team do last year? Let's see. What was this team's record last year? Or expected? We don't want to know expected. They were 4-12. In what division? The AFC Western Division. Who comprises the AFC Western Division? The Kansas City Chiefs, the Los Angeles Chargers. Those are 2 12-4 teams. Playoff teams. One team could possibly win the Super Bowl this year and dethrone them guys up in Massachusetts. Then you got the Broncos that stay above water, or at least try to hover around that mid-range NFL team. And then we got the Raiders again at an old 4-12 clip. Now, we get to this guy, Antonio B. Brown. The B stands for big chest. His words, not mine. Everybody's all excited and gung-ho about attaining Antonio Brown for a 3rd-round draft pick and a 5th-round draft pick. Oh, we gave up nothing to get AB. Well, what do we know about AB? AB's 30. 4 years older than Amari, or is he 6 years old? I think he's 6 years older. AB is 6 years older than Amari Cooper. 6 years older. 6 more years of running around all over this damn field. 6 more years of stress on your body in the NFL. And you're a 30-year-old wide receiver. We traded our 24-year-old wide receiver for a 1st-round draft pick from the Dallas Cowboys. That pick ended up being 2019 NFL Draft. That pick ended up being the that good old 1st-round pick from the Dallas Cowboys ended up being the 24th pick in the NFL Draft. The Raiders mock draft predicts them to pick a DN outside linebacker pass rusher. So wait a minute. Last year, we traded our all-pro DN outside linebacker pass rusher because we wasn't going to give him no money for a draft pick to the Bears. Then we trade our 24-year-old, 24 with one bad season, 24-year-old three-time Pro Bowler, 24-year-old wide receiver to the Dallas Cowboys for a first-round draft pick that could possibly end up being another pass rusher. But y'all happy. Okay. Antonio Brown last season, 2018. Started 15 games, played 15 games. 104 receptions, 1,297 yards, 15 touchdowns, which led the league. 86 yards a game. Man, outstanding. He's phenomenal. Wow, this guy's amazing. Wow, this dude is awesome. Wow, this dude is 30. This dude is 30. And we gave up third and fifth round picks for a 30-year-old receiver that makes, by the way, $30 million. We let go of a 24-year-old high-end wide receiver that has had one bad season due to injury and a little bit of a case of the dropsies, aka a little bit of a case of the I'm not focused because this organization's in shambles. Why am I here anymore? They drafted me. Let me get this thing going, and after 3-4 years, I get this contract. I'm gonna get traded, or I'm just gonna walk. The Cowboys will exercise the 19 optional Allen Hurns. That's great, Allen. So we let go of our 24-year-old wide receiver, 1,000-yard a year wide receiver, 75, 80 catches a year wide receiver, 24-year-old that we control because we drafted him for the dude who, while your coach talking now, let's do real life stuff. It's 53 dudes in this locker room. We all get paid by this organization, and after this football game, our manager's talking to us, the boss of the squad. This ain't the coach. Let's not look at it in the terms of the team on your high school, college situation. The manager of y'all workforce is talking to y'all about how y'all implemented the game plan we let forward and led ourselves to a win, a victory, which gets us paid. And you could take 5 minutes out your life to get your monkey ass off the internet. That's girl stuff. Like y'all hate to say it, but a lot of the stuff a lot of these men do on the internet, that's what women do. Get on, get all your little friends behind you, yeah, chirping and whatnot. This dude's a whole professional football player, but that's your wave. Here's another subtle thing. When you Google most football players, the first things that pop up is information about who they are and their stats. Google Antonio Brown. Google Odell Beckham. You won't get to their stats until you get past their Instagram, their social media, the news stories about them, and then they start talking about some football because that's secondary to these guys. And it's not his fault. I don't knock Antonio Brown for making the game of football secondary to what he foresees as a future and other things throughout the longevity of his life. He's got to look out for himself like that. But for anybody to assume that this dude's about to come to the Oakland Raiders and make a difference in the win-loss column, you are quite mistaken when this gentleman now has joined a conference with the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Diego Chargers. Side note, this is the guy who's been throwing Antonio Brown for the whole of his career. Not just a little bit here and there, not hit now and again, but for the whole of his career. So when we look at all of Amari's stats, that's all Derek Carr. This is all Derek Carr doing. Could the stats be better if Derek Carr was better? Would they be worse with another quarterback? Well, he just went to Dallas, played a few games, and he did pretty damn good with Dak, who before that was a dink and dacker. Shout out Shannon Sharp. Dinking and dacking. But he was able to air it out a little bit more all of a sudden when Amari got there. Suddenly it's some no-name receivers getting down the scene because it's a threat on the field. And this dude here is 6'5", 240, and he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. And he's just in 2000, let's see. Antonio Brown joined his team in 2010. So Ben Roethlisberger already had one Pro Bowl and a Super Bowl, I believe, by the time he joined up with Antonio. When he joined up with Antonio, he was 28. Antonio was 22. And from that point forward, Ben Roethlisberger all of a sudden became the monster. 4,000, 32, 42, 49, 39, 38, 42, 5,100 yards passing last year. Now, the 5,129 passing yards that Ben Roethlisberger threw last year was his highest ever, more than 200 yards better than his second best year, and more than 700 yards better than his third best season. Antonio Brown didn't have a lot to do with it. When Ben was throwing for 42 and 49, which did lead the league, that 49, that was Antonio Brown's two best years at 1,500 and 1,600. But when Antonio had 1,200 yards last year, Ben suddenly threw for 5,129 yards. How did that happen? How did Ben all of a sudden have his best year passing in a year where Antonio Brown didn't lead his own team in receiving? Because of this man, JuJu Smith-Schuster. JuJu went for 1,426 yards last year in his first year in the NFL, meaning he walked out the gate. Oh no, second year. He came out 17. My fault. He came out with that was that whole class with Deshaun Watson and all them guys. But JuJu came through his second season and led his team in receiving, the same team that this guy was on. But what do we know about the Pittsburgh Steelers last season? They didn't even make it to the playoffs. Ben Roethlisberger now threw for his most passing yards ever, had 2,000-yard receivers, and didn't make it to the playoffs. Why? Because they had no defense. They could stop nobody from moving the ball. You can't stop people from moving the ball. You can't stop people from getting in the end zone. You will not win. The highest scoring game in the season last year was 50-something to 50-something. Kansas City versus LA. That showed us at that moment, well, neither one of these teams is going to win the Super Bowl, but they damn sure either get close or get there because they can't stop nobody, but it damn sure looks good watching it. This game ain't hard to figure out. It's a year-by-year consistent theme. Defense plus precision and execution on offense wins championships. Time of possession minus the other team's time of possession usually leads to points. Now you got kickers, you got special teams. But when it comes down to the basis of this thing, it's all about ball control. Defenses 2018. The Raiders last year, going into 2018, where were the Raiders going into the season? Let's take a look. Let's take a look at what the people were saying. This is just some random website on the NFL. I guess they watch enough football, so hey, they've got an opinion. But they were ranking all the NFL teams going into the season. Oh, Giants dead ass last season. Well, they ended up winning 2 games, so that makes sense because they let go of who? Their pass rusher before the season. They let Jason Pierre-Paul go and have an offensive-centric draft that didn't do the defense any favors heading into 2018. Eli Apple left, and Eli Apple ended up on a playoff team. Defense wins championships or at least wins enough games. Oh my God, who was 31? 31 going into last year. Why were they going into 2018 second to last predicted to be in defense? Because they sought to fortify their secondary in the 17 draft by adding Garyon Conley and Obi Melanfonwu in the first 2 rounds. The two combined to see action in a whole 7 games. A first, second round pick, first, second round pick, first, second round pick, a whole 7 games. It led to Oakland finishing last season in the bottom 10 of total defense while yielding 101 passer rating to opposing quarterbacks. I think the average NFL quarterback passer rating is supposed to be about 83 to 86. We giving up 100 though. Some veteran reinforcements came to the Raiders by way of names you don't know, like Derek Johnson, who got kicked up out of KC and Rashad Melvin, who you don't know. And in no way does this mean the Raiders defense is worthy of a higher ranking, despite boasting all everything pass rusher Khalil Mack. In no way does this mean the Raiders defense is worthy of a higher ranking, despite. And then what happened? Let's let Khalil Mack go and get another draft pick that'll probably end up playing in maybe 3, 4 games that could maybe make an impact on defense because this game is way faster than where they came from. And if they're not a superior athlete, they won't get it. They won't get it. Y'all want to have this argument that flashes win games. Derek Carr is an above average quarterback. He's a 4,000. He can do 4,032, 17 interceptions every year for the rest of his career and won't win a game. Just by the way the NFL has set up this current paradigm where you can just put 2, 3 dudes back there running back as long hey hit the hole, bro, because we got these wide stances, we running these zone plays, so you can go and get 2, 3 yards a pop anyway until the defense squeezes in between your gaps, start pounding into the gaps and crashing from the outside, and then we got to start faking and throw the little quick screen thing. Just watch the game of football. It's not hard. And it's real easy to recognize if you played at all in the late 90s, early 2000s, where the game was still more I formation centric. If you did have that third to fourth wide receiver, they more than likely lined up in a tight flanker, or you had just the regular trips. A lot of teams still ran 3-back formations in the late 90s. Triple option, which they said couldn't work, but every now and then you still see little wiggles of that in the NFL. Mahomes will come down the line, fake a pitch, throw a little sidearm quick screen to his guy. That's the triple option. But it's just about evolving the game. Evolving the game is nothing but making the dudes on the other side think that something's going to happen that's not going to happen and you taking advantage of it. Simple. The Oakland Raiders are not in the business of doing that right now. They're in the business of keeping a couple butts in the seats, selling a couple damn these, keeping the TV contract current so they don't get no blackouts this season, and then getting the hell out of Oakland. That's their plan. And it pisses me off when people don't just look at it from a logical, understanding point of view. Because it's this weird balance with these games we watch where we get caught up in the mechanisms in front of us but don't realize that there are people. There's people sitting around making these decisions, and they're business decisions. And the business decisions don't always pan out on the field of play. Come to an understanding of what you're watching. It's still my squad, but it all started with a tip tuck rule. Now we got the tip tuck rule. It makes no sense to release your 24 and your 25, 26-year-old receivers and pass rushers just to go get a 30-year-old dude with a blonde mustache and blue dreads. That's all I'm saying. I'm Ricky Jones. Still the news.